that's not what I want. There we go. Just me. Okay. Good morning. Okay. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Got a cup of coffee. I see we have several viewers on every platform. I see people from Twitch. I see growing numbers on Rumble and YouTube. Awesome. I don't see anybody from Facebook or Twitter yet this morning, but that's okay. We'll pick you up. We'll get you. So it is the 4th of July. I know. It's the 3rd. But, funny story. The founders expected to sign it on the 3rd. And the reminiscence about the kind of like, this is the way it will be, sentiments say things like, oh yeah, the 3rd of July will be celebrated with fireworks and great feasts and gatherings, and it was supposed to be today, but some people were late to the party and they didn't sign it until the 4th. But the 4th of July just has a ring to it, and it may just be because we're used to saying it, but there it is. So tomorrow is Independence Day. And I'm talking about Independence Day. I'm talking about the 4th of July, today on the 3rd, for a couple of reasons. One, I'm a devout, dirty capitalist, and I intend to capitalize on already having this published with the appropriate search engine optimization so that this is one of the shows that's coming up to be watched. Two, I'm going to take the day off tomorrow. We do this show live at 7:30, 5 days a week, and we don't miss it for much. In fact, I think the last time we didn't do a show, it was because I was convalescing from surgery. And, so I'm going to skip it tomorrow. Sorry. But, I'll be back Wednesday morning and I'll have Cameron with me and we'll do a good show for you for Woke Wednesday. I think we're going to have to talk about some SCOTUS on Woke Wednesday. But today, I want to talk about independence. I want to talk about what it means, why it's important, and how it happens. Danny says, good for you taking the 4th off. You fought for our freedom. Celebrate it. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. And I love you, sweetheart. I can't wait to see you back in the South so I can hug your neck again. We don't see nearly enough of each other. And when you're down here, it seems like we're always busy. But, and I'll be spending at least a good chunk of tomorrow with another extraordinary veteran, Sergeant Major Lowry. I'm going to go down to the farm, and Dad's having some work done on the farm, and I'm going to go maybe even run some cameras and get some interesting video footage down there, which, we'll see. We'll see what I get. Take the drone, maybe take the old X2000 and the BGH-1, see, play around a little bit. American independence is a magical, special thing. It really is. I've talked about this on the show before, but I want to give it a little more expansion today. It is not the case that America is the last free place on earth. Now, if you watch the news, it's not hard to say it looks like freedom is eroding everywhere, even here. But at least in America, it is eroding slower than everywhere else. Now, there's some truth to that. However, one must correctly understand that when you talk about individual freedom, a person having liberty, individual civil liberties, civil rights, that concept only theoretically and academically predates the United States of America. When we landed and began the journey toward revolution, the natural state of the world was monarchy and tyranny. You go back to the Greeks and Romans, and you have the first kind of iterations of an electorate, of a senate, of the involvement of the citizenry in government. And even there, it's quite different to what we experience today. You look across the water and you see the British, they have the Parliament, and you have the House of Lords and the House of Commons, which in theory gives the people a voice. But let's be real, even here in America, in practice, what it means to have representation is that you elect the people that will be treated like your royalty, like your landed gentry. You have a vote to select the nobility rather than the nobility being inherited, in theory. But of course, we've seen dynasties here in the United States. But prior to the corruption that has created the system that we know today, where dynastic politics command money and influence and have devastatingly corrupt outcomes in elections, prior to that corruption of the system, the original establishment by the founders of the Constitution of the United States of America was the first time that the people entertained the idea of throwing off the shackles of governing parties, of governing classes, of nobility, since the inception of those original nobility concepts. Right? We went from cavemen to having a strong caveman in charge to, well, I was the strongest caveman, and so my son is now in charge when I die. And I'm telling you he's the strongest, so don't check it. To, oh, yeah. Who needs a chin to wear a crown? That's a straight line progression. America is not the last free place on earth. It is the first free place on earth. The establishment of American Republican principles, and that is an important distinction, is the first vestige of freedom. And people get confused in America about the distinction between phrases and labels like conservative and liberal. Because what conservative and liberal means overseas is very different. A conservative overseas is conservative of the established regime, which is the monarchy. A conservative in America is conservative of the Constitution. In theory, a liberal in the UK, in anywhere in Europe, is dedicated to the proposition of liberty, in theory. Now, this is becoming less and less true as popular vernacular uses of the words are corrupted by popular vernacular uses. But in the United States, what it means to be a conservative at its core is to be conservative of the principles of the original document, the Constitution. And to a lesser extent, the Declaration, but the Declaration of Independence is, it's a filing of, it's an intent to file, right? For those of you who have dealt with the VA, right? The Declaration of Independence was an intent to file. It's, hey, I'm going to do some stuff. Just wanted you to, check the date, because when the bill comes due, that's where my back pay goes to. So here's Declaration of Independence is an intent to file, right? The Constitution is a claim. Constitution is a resolved claim. This is what I owe. This is what the law says I am owed. Now, Jordan Peterson often says, I'm so tired of hearing people talk about rights. All we hear is people talk about rights. I have rights. And yeah, your rights are important. But Peterson always qualifies that, and it's something that I think is incredibly important to pay attention to. Responsibilities. We established here the first beachhead of liberty, the first footfall of liberty, where we will make our camp and conduct the war to create and expand liberty across the globe. Liberty presupposes individual rights, right to life, liberty, and happiness, right? And it's the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's be clear on that. You do not have the right to be happy. You have an individual responsibility to yourself to be happy. You have the right to pursue that. Right? Just like in having the right to be alive, you have the responsibility to service that right. Right? You have a right to be alive. That does not entail my having a duty or responsibility to feed you, to clothe you, to shelter you, to spend my ammunition and effort on defending you. Now, I have taken the oath to defend the Constitution, and in my judgment, to some extent, that includes those people thereby governed. Even though that's not the oath itself, as a man, I have a personal obligation, I would argue a divine obligation, to defend where I am able those less capable of doing so. And if I'm being honest, I might fetishize that heroism just a little bit. For those of you who have never experienced it, I will tell you that hunting and eliminating evil is one of the most rewarding and gratifying things that a man can engage in. And I guarantee you that a person who disagrees with that sentiment either doesn't understand what I've just said or has never experienced or benefited from it. But this being the first footfall of liberty, the point is that from here, everywhere that freedom exists in the world, it exists as a function of mimicking what we have achieved in the United States. And it's under threat. Make no mistake. The fact of the matter is there is a ruling class and people who are drawn to it and consumed with it that detests that Americans have and enjoy freedom. I mean, make no mistake. People you vote for want you to be slaves. Not all of them. Some of them are bugs and some of them are beetles. But the people that you vote for, among them are those that think you are beneath them. I don't care who you are, what you do, they think of you as the fry cook. You owe them your labor. And to a great extent, they believe that you owe them your labor so that they can trade on that for political capital. So that they can force you to conduct labor, which they can then use to purchase votes. And like I said, I don't care what you do. Are you a doctor? Obamacare. The objective is to enslave you to make political capital so that a politician can buy votes by guaranteeing that your labor will be provided to those who cannot pay for it for free. Steve asks, did you just say all politicians are rapists and drug dealers? No, Steve, I didn't say that. I thought it went without saying. But let me go back for just a minute to the conservative versus liberal as far as understanding goes. Like I said, to be a conservative in America at its core means to be conservative of the Constitution, which is by its very nature an extraordinarily liberal document, because what the Constitution did and continues to do is to take everything that a classical liberal in Europe would want to see as an ultimate goal and codifies it into a single document. And it says, we the people who are free and sovereign and rule over ourselves and no one else rules over us, have decided that it is in our mutual cooperative interest to employ servants to the public whose job it will be to take up mundane responsibilities, freeing we the people who employ these public servants to pursue more complex, advanced, and admirable goals. Which is to say that we the people who are free to pursue whatever interests we wish find that it is in our interest to employ the least capable among us, because it is a charitable act that we offer employment to these people who are inadequate to serve in more complex capacities. The administration of simple tasks like the paving of roads, the writing of simple laws. No law should ever be more than one page or contain more than one action point, right? We employ these people as servants to the public to manage those affairs which are in our mutual interest, with the expectation that they will alleviate some of the requirements that might slow us down from other pursuits. In a lot of ways, you can think of the government as a housewife. Y'all ready for this one? The relationship between a man and a woman, a husband and a wife in a traditional household. And you get all the feminist complaint that, oh, well, women do unpaid labor. No, you don't. That's a lie. That's bullshit. Well, yeah, the domestic labor is unpaid labor. It's like slavery. Fuck you. If you're cleaning a house because you're a housewife and there's a house to clean, somebody's paying for the house. Is it you? No. You, the two of you, have become a single individual. You are a person. Right? And as a single man or a single woman without a spouse, you have a household which has demands that it places on you. It has to be upkept. It has to be cleaned. You have to produce meals. You right? You have to have food available. If you don't cook at home, you go pay somebody to do it. Right? And that's before we even get to the question of the raising and the generation raising of children. As a housewife, the great thing that you're doing is the man who's going to earn the money has a lot of things taken off of his plate so that he can more effectively fund the household. If he has to manage the household and go and do the work of managing the revenue stream into the household, then one of these two tasks will interfere with the other of these two tasks. That's what the beauty of that partnership is that you are now a single individual with a single individual's worth of responsibilities that can be divided rather cleanly across two functional individuals. It's like having a copy of yourself to do your homework when you're sleepy. And that's a good way to think of the government. What we should expect from our government is that it takes the tasks which we need done and does them. But it does not rule. Right? I love my wife, and we have discussions. We decide things together. But we don't decide everything together. She doesn't choose which photos I shoot or which videos I edit. One, because she's not interested in doing that, but frankly, she's not qualified to do it. It's not her wheelhouse. Just like I didn't sew this shirt. Thank you, baby. Yeah, for any of you who don't know, my wife, Ben Shapiro likes to say his wife is a doctor. That's adorable. My wife is a seamstress and a spook. Yeah, buddy. So when you look at the dichotomy of liberalism versus conservatism in America, the use of those words is a gross bastardization, and it's done on purpose to confuse you. Right? You can look at just about anything that's done, especially by the left, and there is one great universal truth. Commies hate thinking. And so they will go out of their way to make things confusing. The Constitution is the most liberal document ever crafted. And to be a conservative in America is to be conservative of that. Properly understood, the word liberal means to be interested in liberty. And there is no greater liberty that can be enjoyed than fair, free trade and individual armament. An armed man who pays no taxes is the freest creature you can imagine. And it's damn difficult to be that. Actually, I'm going to qualify that a little further. An armed, tax-free landowner is the freest creature you can imagine. And I say it like that. We had a long conversation yesterday. My dad and my aunt, we were chit-chatting about property taxes and the tax implications of capital gains on property sales. And I really should not have touched this right at the end of a show because it always gets my blood boiling. The idea of paying any taxes is offensive to me, but most especially the idea of paying property taxes. Especially on a property that I already paid sales taxes on. Right? I'll clarify this. There's no such thing as property tax. The phrase property tax is psychotic. It's unintelligible. If you're a landowner, you do not pay property tax. What you pay is rent. You just happen to be paying that rent to the government involuntarily at gunpoint. You don't own a property unless you can say, you know what? I've got a well, I've got a garden, there's game, and I don't want to talk to you fuckers anymore. I'm going to close the gate, and I'm going to live here. Unless you can own your property and choose not to interact with the world outside, you're not truly free. You're paying rent. And you're paying rent on something you own? Right? Remember Blockbuster? I seem to recall that when I went into Blockbuster and there was these movies are going out of style, so we're getting them out of our inventory for $3.99 a DVD. If I bought 2 or 3 of those DVDs and took them home, I kept them. And this was crazy. I never paid for them again because I already paid for them. I might rent something from Blockbuster and take it back. And I might even pay them extra if I take it back late. But I don't pay them again when I bought the fucking thing. So, I'm going to leave it on that. Happy 4th of July, guys. Y'all be safe out there tomorrow. I hope you have a good time with fireworks and everything. I will be, apparently, I'll be in Old Town this evening for the fireworks show. I'm not actually shooting it this year. Or at least I haven't been hired to shoot it this year. I may take a camera. We'll see what happens. But I'll be in Old Town this evening for the fireworks show with my family. And hopefully I'll see a few of you guys out there. And apart from that, I love you, and I will see you on Wednesday.